welcome back to the WizDG post-game show presented by National Landing. WizDG split the series tonight with Warriors Gaming Squad, taking home the Game 2 win 79-73, splitting that series in the rematch of last year's finals. We'll go ahead and take a look at the highlights from game number 1. We're going to go to the stats of game 2, the leading scores from game 2. Before we go to the highlights, we're saving those a little bit later. JBM leading the way, 31 points for WizDG in game 2. Nudini with 23. Dayfri with 17 as well. Dayfri picking up the play down low. Gradient was 17 on the side of Warriors Gaming. Antoine was 16 and CB 13 with 15 points in game number 2. Now with that, we'll go ahead and take a look at the highlights from game number 1. Not going in favor of WizDG, but still seeing those glimpses of all-star offense from JBM as he locates Dayfri time after time. He can take the shot. He uses his court vision incredibly well, finding Dayfri time after time. Dayfri not afraid to kick it back out, and Nudini really has to be looked at as a triple-headed monster here, being able to play two positions, whether he's playing a guard position or the forward position, whether he's playing a holding role or a shooting role. Nudini can do it all. JBM still being the leading scorer. He can take the shots behind the arc. He can call his own number. Not afraid to take contact at the rim either. JBM doing everything he can. And LeBron, again in his rookie season, coming up big with a 3 in back-to-back possessions. As the shot clock expired, LeBron had a good game 1, unfortunately unable to go in game 2 as the coach did switch up the lineup a bit. JBM will always take what the defense gives him. If that means it's a deep 3, he has no problem taking the shot from downtown. And what can be said about Dayfri? There's a reason he is 3rd in the league in blocks per game. That block turns into a fast break point opportunity going the other direction. And again, JBM putting his vision on display, finding Dayfri on his way to earning the first double-double of this series. Dayfri again with the pick and roll, the one-handed jam. Dayfri, a true leader on this team, and just awkward. Picking up where he left off last year with strong defensive play. Once again, being a menace for the Warriors Gaming Squad in tonight's series, again splitting it 1-1 with the Warriors. We are now joined by Dayfri, the big man for WizDG, the defending champions. Dayfri, thank you for joining us here on the postgame show. Obviously, game 1 didn't go the way we all wanted it to go. Seemed like offensive opportunities came at a little bit of a premium there with their defense.
Yeah, we definitely struggled game 1, offensively and defensively. I just think that we weren't really trusting each other. I think the communication was down, our energy was down. We kind of just came out flat, man. And, you know, when you play in this league, it's super competitive, and you got to come with it every game. If you don't, obviously see what happens. We got embarrassed game 1, but we made a change. Shout out to coach. We made a change, and Dini played a position. Obviously, he played last year, but he hasn't touched it all year. And he went to the 4 and was our leading scorer. I thought he was second leading scorer. And Brandon stepped up big. And it was really nice to finally see us come back together, and we end up splitting after starting as bad as we did.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, when a team is applying that kind of pressure to you in game 1, obviously you have to make that switch going into game 2. Just out of curiosity, take us behind the scenes a little bit. What was the conversation in between game 1 and game 2 when Coach Pat came in and said, hey, we're going to make a change to the lineup. We're going to let B-Rich come in, and we're going to flex Dini down to that 4 position?
Yeah, the conversation definitely wasn't a pleasant one to start. I haven't seen Pat that mad in a long time. He holds us to a really high standard, and as he should. And we were really, really flat to start, man. And it's one of those things that we knew if Brandon might have been the jolt, or Dini going to the 4 might have been the jolt. And it was just big coming out. Jack was really aggressive coming out of the second game. And, you know, Jack was just being Jack. And once Jack is doing Jack things, it's really everybody just kind of follows suit. And it was one of those things. It was just, I was so happy to see the guys buy into each other, you know, down the stretch. Obviously, we're never too happy about a split, but it's just nice to see everybody finally could gel together and, you know, finally buy in and get a W.
And it's always big when you can have that option coming off the bench as well in B-Rich. Again, he was on that championship team with you guys last year as well, being a vocal leader behind the scenes. Talk to me a little bit about B-Rich and what his role is for this team going into Season 4, being the defending champs. Obviously, he had an amazing chance here coming into Game 2, and it really did pay off for him.
Yeah, so Brandon is he's one of a kind, man. He's one of those guys that he can get to everybody. He's one of those guys that he's never too deep in. He's never to a point where you can't go talk to him. He can talk to everybody in different ways. He's our glue guy, honestly. He's like my best friend on the team. We work out every morning together. He's the guy, if you want to go get food, he's going to go with you. He never says no, man. And he's one of those guys that, that is super undervalued on our team, and he can still play the game. Obviously, you've seen it, stepping up Game 2, we end up winning against the Warriors. So he's just the guy that, he reminds me of just like a really, really good six man in the NBA. He's like a Jamal Crawford. He just steps up when he needs to, and he's just a good guy off the court. He's so big for our team, and, something you don't see behind the scenes, he helps so much.
Absolutely. B-Rich being the leader behind the scenes as well. Glad to hear that B-Rich is stepping up there as well. Dayfri, thank you so much for joining us here today. Congratulations on the Game 2 win. I know that's going to be it for Week 3. There's a pretty big matchup next week against the Nets coming up for you as well, so we look forward to that matchup for you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, and thank y'all for always covering our stuff, and I love y'all so much, and I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Dayfri. Coming up next, head coach Pat Crossan will join us here on the post-match show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Back inside the William Hill Sportsbook in Capital One Arena. It's the WizDG post-game show presented by National Landing. Final score, Game 2, 79-73. WizDG split the series. With the runner-ups from last year in the Warriors gaming squad, we are now joined by the championship coach himself of WizDG, Pat Crossan. Pat, thank you so much for joining us today. A little bit of a tough series here today, splitting 1-1 against the Warriors. Game 1 didn't exactly go the way anyone really planned. We spoke with Dayfri before, and he mentioned, obviously, you weren't too happy with the way the team played there in Game 1. From a coaching perspective, can you take us through a little bit what you do when you speak to the team in between games 1 and 2, and especially what went through your mind making that decision to bring B-Rich into the game and flex Nudini down to the 4?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. After the first game, it seemed like we were kind of, I don't want to say lifeless, but, our defense wasn't to the level that we know we can play at. And clearly we kind of had a slow start to the game. And, just watching the game and even going throughout probably about third quarter, fourth quarter, I was like, I think a change might need to be made just to kind of give us some more life. That's why we have 6 players on a team in the 2K League. You do have one substitution and you can substitute in between games if need be. So, Brandon's been working hard. Obviously, he's been, he was our 6th man last year for us. He's been working hard at shooting guard, power forward, any spot that we kind of need him at. And, obviously Dini for us played power forward last year. So at that moment, it was just like, hey, let's put him back on power forward. We won a championship with doing that and see if Brandon can give us some points at shooting guard. And very happy the way the guys bounced back Game 2. But, going 1-1, it's tough. Every team is good in this league, and especially when you're playing against a team that just played us in the championship, you're always going to be in for a show, I'm sure, as the fans watch tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned B-Rich. I mean, the 6th man. And a lot of times people hear that term 6th man and they go, oh, well, he's not a starter. But, Coach, you've talked about it all last year in the offseason and also when you brought him back this year. He's a big leader behind the scenes, making the most of his playing time today, 6 points, and also coming up with 2 crucial second-chance opportunities for offensive rebounds. And that was really the story in Game 2. You had a total of 13 offensive rebounds, 9 coming from Dayfri. I feel like that alone, those second-chance opportunities, really helped you get back into the game and win it.
I mean, you always know what you're going to get from Ryan. He shows up every game. He shows up every day in practice. I mean, he's a leader in this league. He's a leader for us. And, we're blessed to have him these past couple of years. So, obviously Ryan's going to get his and lead the team to on the court and off the court. And obviously with Brandon, there's a lot of things that, the fans might not see behind the scenes that he does on and off the court. And even, when we're scrimmaging other teams and he's in the rotation, he's getting playing time and he's working hard. Very proud that he could step in there tonight and help us pull out a win.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take a look at your next opponent coming up next week. And of course, it's going to be the Nets and Chalk. I mean, this is a guy who feels like he's just scoring at will. It's going to be a really big matchup next Wednesday. I believe it's a 9 p.m. tip-off for that 2-game series. Let's look ahead into that matchup. What are you looking at as a coach? How are you going to limit Chalk and his hot hand?
I mean, the Nets are a good team. They clearly run the ball through Chalk. He's kind of their offensive player. Faiz, he's a good shooting guard for them. He plays like the shooting lock position. He just had 29 points a couple days ago or a day ago in their game. So they're a tough team. We feel like we match up very well against them. Justin, just awkward, and Dayfri in the pick and roll is a huge thing for us defensively. So we're going to lean on those guys to slow down Chalk as much as we can.
Absolutely. Head coach Pat Crossan, thank you so much for joining us on the post-game show, and we look forward to that matchup against the Nets next week. We'll talk to you then.
Thanks, John. We'll see you next week.
All right, with that, WizDG splitting the series tonight against Warriors Gaming Squad in that rematch of the finals from last year, where, of course, WizDG went on to win their first ever championship. Their next game, again, next Wednesday, the 16th of June, 9 p.m., is going to be game number 1. You can see that right here on Monumental Sports Network and NBC Sports Washington. Until Wednesday, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you then.